I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 474th episode of the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey, and let me share you this. Whoops, that's not where I want to share that. Let me remove that. I was going to come on as a snarky little smartass and be like day 2 of the Iranian war, but I'm hearing that we may have a ceasefire. As reported just a short while ago, there may be at least a tentative ceasefire between Israel and Iran. And now I want to be clear, that's clearly and obviously not like a peace deal. You know, it's the Middle East. There's never going to be peace. Matter of fact, I think I read this book one time that lets me know that when there is peace, it's probably the time of the time, you know, that time. So I don't know that it's 100% peace, but we do have what it seems to be a ceasefire, so that's good. Going to continue monitoring that, of course. But while there are things going on that are completely out of our control, I do want to discuss things that are in our control, which is happening right here in our back door, front door, side door, neighborhoods, in our towns, in our cities, in our counties, and in our state. Things that we have a little bit more control over. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Before we get into all of this, I do want to say, first off, thank you for being here, each and every one of you, whether you're watching here live being Monday, June 23rd, 2025. It is 9:11 p.m. Sorry for being just a little bit late, but I was getting some touching last-minute breaking news information that we're going to cover here in just a moment. Thank you for being here. If you're here live or if you're here via the replay button in the future, welcome. If you're here live and you want to communicate, comment over here on the right-hand side. If you're here in the future and you want to comment down below. I would consider asking you to please hit that like button, give us a thumbs up, let us know that you like the content, you hate the content, one or the other. Hey, hit the like button, hit the not like button, whichever one, it doesn't matter to me, honestly, but hit one of those buttons, please. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. It doesn't cost you a dime. Subscribe and click the bell. That way you get up-to-date information when we drop it and when we release it. Other than that, you know we're here 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday at 9 p.m. or shortly thereafter, Eastern, each night, Sunday through Thursday. So, all right. ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, before we get into what everybody is here, and I cut it down so it would be easier to operate with. Before we get into the big topic, the reason that most of you are here, which is the attempted private property theft by the Winchester city government and Randolph County government, and I will explain what that means here in a minute. Before we get into this topic, I would probably be remiss if I did not cover some serious breaking news out of the city of Muncie / Delaware County just for a moment. A short while ago, before I went live, the Delaware County Republican Party, the Delaware County Republicans / Muncie City Republicans, made a major announcement, and this was made at 7:48 p.m. this evening. Now, this is something that I have heard about probably for at least the last 3 or 4 months, maybe 5, maybe 3 or 4 months. The last 3 or 4 months, I've heard about this. And I just thought I would wait to see what happened. I didn't know how it was going to play out, but the Delaware County Republican Party has announced the Republican realignment continues. That's what they call this. The Republican realignment continues. The party goes on to say, we're thrilled to welcome Muncie City Councilman Brandon Garrett into the Republican Party. Just absolutely mind-boggling. Brandon is a dedicated public servant who always puts the needs of his constituents first. His experience and leadership are valuable assets, and we look forward to working alongside him to move our community forward with wisdom, unity, and purpose. And those are the words of newly appointed and elected, I guess, by the party, Tim Overton, the newly appointed Delaware County Republican chairman. There are then words shared by Muncie Mayor Dan Ridenour that says, I am very pleased that Brandon has made this important decision to change parties to one that better fits his values. I welcome him and his family. Brandon and I have always worked well together for the betterment of Muncie Mayor Dan Ridenour. And then we see a picture of Brandon. We see a picture of Stephen Brand, Dan Ridenour, Brandon Garrett, Tim Overton, and just back from, I guess maybe the boys basketball from Purdue, got back from Hawaii or something. So just off the boys basketball team. I mean, off the airplane, off the boys basketball team. Just off the airplane is Jessica Piper. I guess to smile weirdly. And then here is the words from Brandon. Today, I'm proud to announce that I'm coming home. What? He's been a Democrat for as long as I have, he's always been a Democrat. So he's coming home to the Republican Party. I love this city, especially the South Side, and I believe in the importance of family values, supporting our police, firefighters, first responders, and upholding the common sense principles that define the Republican Party. My grandfather, Ralph Smith, was a Kennedy Democrat and also switched from the Democrat to Republican Party, who shaped who I am. But over time, I've watched the Democrat Party locally. I would assume he doesn't say locally. I would assume he's saying locally. Maybe he means nationally too. And I mean, it's all basically the same. Drift away from those principles. I strongly believe in the American dream and in building a better life through personal responsibility. My wife, Ashley, is my rock. Her wisdom and support keep me grounded, and I would never make a decision this important without her full encouragement. I am truly thankful for her love and partnership. I love Muncie, and I believe in our community's potential. I'm excited to work alongside Mayor Dan Ridenour and others who are committed to progress, unity, and results. Great things are ahead, and I'm honored to be part of the future through the Republican Party. This is not a political decision, says a politician making a political statement on a political page about a political office he holds, about making probably what would be considered the biggest political decision that he could possibly make. This is not a political decision. That is truly laughable. Not because it's Brandon. I hate anytime. It's like when you go to the public meetings and you're starting to talk and they gavel you and they're like, hey, don't be talking about politics in this government building while in front of a bunch of politicians who are all being political. That's always laughable to me. It's these people. I tell you, if you truly want to show that you're not a political person, resign and go back to the private sector. That would show us. And I don't mean that to Brandon. I mean that to everybody. This is not a political decision. It's coming home, which I don't know what that means. I will always represent Shedtown with pride and stand firmly for the security, values, dignity of every person in our city. Brandon Garrett, Muncie City Councilman. So at least he's keeping the fact that like the dual person, like the they them part of the Democrat Party, because you'll notice he is a Muncie City Councilman and not a Muncie City Councilor or not a Muncie City Councilman. I would have probably tried to catch that E, but whatever. Okay, and then from there we see a picture of him shaking hands with a very giddy Ridenour. I'm surprised he's so giddy. The Pacers lost last night. And then here is an amazing picture because this couldn't be a more odd grouping of people if I've ever seen one. This is Dan Ridenour, who hates the person to the right, Belinda Munson, and Belinda Munson, the city clerk, who hates Dan Ridenour. And Brandon's just kind of like in the middle, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So that's so weird. I don't know why Belinda's there. Dan wants Belinda gone. Maybe they were like Red Rover, send Brandon on over and we'll send Belinda back. I don't really know. It's really, really strange. I don't know. He's not up in 2026. Now, this, I won't have a comment. This is his family. That's a great picture. I have no problem with that. And then here's him. So he's not up for election in 2026. He's up for election he won't be up for, they just ran 2 years ago. So he won't be up for re-election until the city elections quite some time away from here. So, I'm not as giddy about this. I don't care. This is a strange move. Brandon is the embodiment of the Democratic Party. I understand there's a lot of people. It's weird that the Republican Party allowed. Well, I'm not going to say it. It's weird who the Republican Party are allowing to come over and who they're not allowing. Okay. Yes, Thad, that's exactly right. I do not like that idea. When you start switching and doing all of that, I don't, that gets really strange when you start doing all of that. I think that's really strange. And I think it speaks in volume. I mean, it speaks volumes about the people that do these things switching. And it's just not a good look. And it's not a good look for Brandon, and it's not a good look for the Republican Party. This is just a strange thing. When I shared the news, I put up right before we came on, actually, I said breaking news. And just like that, local Democratic control of the Muncie City Council drops from a supermajority of 6-3. Remember, the the Muncie City the Muncie City Republican. I might be having a stroke. Let's try this again. The Muncie City Council, from January until yesterday, has had a supermajority of Democrats. They had 6 Democrats to 3 Republicans and it's a 9-person council. So out of 9 people, 6 of them were Democrats, 3 of them were Republicans. Now the council drops to just a majority on the lead of the council of a 5-person Democratic control and 4 Republicans. As longtime Democrat Brandon Garrett switches teams to become a newly accepted member of the Delaware County Republican Party. The phrase, "This is not a political decision, it's coming home," is the strangest phrase for the political announcement. But anyway, now time to see what the local Democratic Party has to say about this. And some of the extreme members of the party are obviously already up in arms. They're mad about this. And I posted on there. I didn't post anything bad. I just said, it's kind of strange and we'll see what happens. I made the post. A couple people have commented on that post that I made. And we'll see what these people have said here. All comments. So someone says, "Wait, I'm confused. I thought Brandon was in lockstep with the new leadership at Democrat HQ." To which Brandon's wife says, "Far from it." Sarah says, "Wow, I thought him and Jeff were good friends." Ashley says they are. Frank Russell says, "Fantastic." Another person says, "How's this legal while holding a seat? That's not who you voted for." Sarah says, "Is Brandon going to issue a statement explaining why he left the party that helped to elect him?" Sarah said, "The party didn't help elect him." Ashley says, "That party didn't help elect him." Amber Green, communications director for the city of Muncie, says the photo containing only text is Brandon's statement. For some reason, my mother says welcome. I'm not sure why she said that. So that's that. I'm just kind of shocked, honestly. I don't know. Now, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked because what I'm hearing from these people that are switching is they're saying that the Republican Party of Delaware County no longer represents the way that they feel. The Democratic Party does not look, act, and behave the same. That there's a lot of people that feel like the local Democratic Party is not the same party that it was, which is a good thing because just a couple of years ago, in some aspects is a good thing because there were issues, but then in other aspects, people are concerned. I don't know why this is, because in all fairness, his statement didn't state why he was leaving. I would like to get a statement from Brandon stating why this just seems all of a sudden. I heard about this several months ago, heard that this was something that was coming, didn't know if it would actually go through or not, didn't know if the Republican Party was actually going to accept him or not. They did. Again, I'm just going to put out there, it's strange who they accept and who they don't. I need to decide. I need to find out if I can release the information. There's at least one, if not 2 people that they have turned down. And so my question there is, why are they turning some people down that want to leave and not others? And my thought there is the reason they've turned a couple of these people down is they already have people who are signed up to run and they don't want to create a primary challenge. And if that's the case, I don't like that political play there. I think that's bad. If they're accepting new people, accept them. If you're not, don't. whatever. But I do feel people's anger in this because they're saying, wait a minute, we elected this man as a Democrat and now he's claiming he's a Republican. You know, I don't know. What does that mean? What does that mean the party doesn't look and act like they want? I can't tell you what people who've said. I don't know what people mean. I tell you that what I have heard from at least two of these people. I'm not sure any of this matters when only 19 of the registered voters in this town even bother to vote. Thad, that is very, very good point too. I think that's a very, very true statement. But I will tell you, I have heard from a couple members that the new leadership, this is not my words. This is the words of the people that have wanted to switch and others that have looked to switch, or other outside party members have stated that that the local Democratic Party doesn't seem to be focusing on local Democratic issues. They are more aligned with a national movement of a desire for constant protest rather than trying to get local candidates elected, or trying to get local candidates or local people to fold into the party. They are aligned with a more far left-leaning progressive agenda rather than local politics. As we've said multiple times, on the local level, Republican and Democrat doesn't matter. Okay. And so that's the thing. Now, the difference is, and here's the deal. First off, I didn't tell you to shut up. My issue is not that Brandon can't do this and can't run. I'm fine with that. My issue, the only issue that I have here, and I don't have an issue. If somebody wants to have a come to Jesus meeting and they've decided, hey, I'm a new person, I'm somebody different, I've changed, that's on them. That's on them, and that's on the people that elected them, and they have to answer for that. I said that the other aspect of this is Brandon has bled the Democratic Party his entire life. Everyone knew that Eric wasn't a hardcore Democrat. There was never a secret that Eric was just a person. The other aspect is, as a prosecutor, politics is a little bit more removed than it is from somebody who is a lawmaker. As a city councilor, you are a lawmaker. I don't have an issue with anyone switching parties from Republican to Democrat, Democrat, Republican. That's on them, and that's on their voters, and they will determine that at the next ballot box. I don't care. I don't have an issue with Brandon switching or not switching. I'm just saying this is quite a shock. I'm interested to know why you find the point where I told you to shut up and I'll pay you $50. I don't think I've ever told anybody to shut up on my show. I'm sure I've never said that. You find me that audio and send it to me. I'll play it on here live and I'll pay you $50. I don't think you'll ever find a video of me telling you to shut up. That's nuts. But it is, I will tell you absolutely, yes, Chief Muncie is 100% right. Chief Muncie is 1,000% right. I can't get this here. It is an indictment on the current leadership. Beyond all shadow of a doubt. The fact that we're seeing both parties saying, we're accepting new membership. We're accepting new membership. And what I'm seeing is people from outside of the party coming into the fold of the Democratic Party, and people from inside the Democratic Party going into the fold of the Republican Party. And so I believe what this is completely, and not me saying it, it's the Democrats that are leaving, an indictment on the leadership of the party. Period. I don't know how else to say it. And I just don't know. I I don't know how the Democratic Party is going to stop this bleed of people leaving the local party. And what I want to say this again, the local parties need to be focused on getting new membership into the party. New membership into the party. When I say new membership, I mean citizens that are otherwise have not been part of the process. They need to be working on bringing them into the fold, maintaining their membership, and they need to be working on getting local candidates elected. Local parties need to not be carrying the mantra and beating the drum for the state party or for the national party. And I feel like a lot of people feel that this local Democratic Party, the local party, is changing in a way that a lot of people feel do not represent their beliefs. So I don't know. I think this will be interesting. If people are leaving the party, there needs to be an understanding of what is causing it, not a coming home. That's exactly right. I'm very interested to that. The only thing I will say is I hope that when you voted for Brandon, you voted for him as a person. He, as a person, has not changed, and neither has his beliefs. The party changed. And I very much appreciate that statement, Ashley. My hope is, I'm not knocking Brandon for this. My hope is that he will be very clear about why he left. I can appreciate your words, but in all honesty, you weren't elected. I'm interested in hearing from Brandon why Brandon left. I'm interested to hear from Brandon why Brandon left the party. And I hope that he's at some point going to offer a reason, because here's the issue. If he's coming out and saying, well, I don't want to hurt the feelings of anybody over there, then I'm concerned about him being in the Republican Party. If he can't explain to us what the issue is, then I'm concerned. He needs to state why he has switched. And so far, I've not seen that. So that's my issue. My feeling is that the party needs to be focusing on the needs and the wants of the majority of their constituents, not a small minority. Yeah. I think that's true too, Chief Muncie. So, we will hopefully have more on this. I hope Brandon will release a statement stating exactly what the issues were and is ready to say. I mean, you listen, his statement that this is not a political decision that's nuts. We're past the looking glass. When you are an elected council person, I know you're a person, but when you're an elected person as one party or the other, and in the middle of the term you leave, if you look at Eric Hoffman's response to why he left, he pointed specific reasons out. Brandon hasn't specifically done that, so I'm hoping that he does that, and that's all I have to say about that. We'll have more on this, and we'll see what goes on here and see what goes from here. Okay, so now we need to get into the majority part of the show, the main topic of tonight, which is a very serious issue. It concerns attempted property theft of the government. And I want to be clear before we start this. This is not like, I don't like eminent domain. I'm not a fan of eminent domain, and I would fight government doing eminent domain. Eminent domain, where you live along a section of highway and the state comes in and says, we're going to widen your highway and we're going to need to take 10 feet of your property, and we're going to do it through eminent domain, in my opinion, is theft of property by the government. And I stand with anybody fighting that. Like, for example, the people that we had on a couple months ago talking about the big roundabout down in Henry County, and it was going to take parts of the property. In my opinion, that's property theft. And I would talk about why I don't support that, and I stand with those people fighting that. That's eminent domain. No. Well, and we'll get into it and let you see what happened here. And I'm going to let everybody know that's watching this. This is just the first little small episode looking into this. This is going to be something that's going to have to unfold over the next several days and weeks, as I'm going to have to go to the Winchester City Council meeting. I'm going to have to listen to what they say. We're going to have to just, be in meetings. I'm going to have communications with these people, which I absolutely hate. I cannot stand hardly anyone in government in Winchester. They are the absolute worst of the worst, the whole lot of them. Very mindless, and they're not there for the right reasons. They're there to do the will of their friends, the will of their family. They're there for like some kind of like cherry on the end of whatever they believe is an otherwise illustrious career. And so they're not there to do the right thing. No, the councilwoman has left. She resigned in December, and we now have another person that's living in Winchester, living in District 4, who is now filling that seat. So that is one plus. But that's that. So I want to walk you guys through what's happening here, and in order to do so, I'm going to pull up the Google Maps and let you kind of see what we're dealing with here. So imagine, if you will, okay, the government coming in and not saying like, hey, we need to take 10 feet from the edge of your property. Imagine them saying, we're going to take the center of your home. We need to take the center of your property. This is going to be us. And wait, what did you say? My project I was working on got you sentenced to prison? Is that what you said? It got you sentenced to prison? So I'm back hopefully more often now. Shoot me a message. I'd like to talk to you and find out more about that. That's rather interesting. Oh. I was like, wait a minute. What is happening? Okay. I was like, man, that got serious fast. No, amazingly, Tweety Bird, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This is just good old idiots in Winchester. As Sigmund Freud said, sometimes politics are not Donald Trump. Isn't that what he said? Oh, no, I think it was sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. It was close enough. Anyways, no, this is just about idiots in Winchester. This is not a Republican. They all happen to be Republican, but not because they know anything about what being Republican is. They could easily be Democrat or whatever. These are just completely mindless people. That's just, it is what it is. I don't know how else to describe these folks. Okay, so I'm going to show you right here. This is probably the best place to start. So I'm going to pull this map up. I'm going to show you, this is the city of Winchester we're looking at. I'm going to come out from here and let you see this. This is Winchester. Winchester is a community that is about 35 minutes to the east of Muncie. That's right. Nunes is a Democrat, and John Bruchin was a Democrat, but got elected as a Republican. It's a mixed bag of nuts. So here's Winchester. I'll show you on the map where we are in Indianapolis. Here's Muncie as a whole. Here is Indianapolis. Here's Muncie. And where my cursor is right now is Winchester. So right here. So that's kind of where we're looking at. And we're going to zoom. Oop, no, that was Union City. Sorry. I need to move over a little bit. There's Winchester. So we're going to zoom into Winchester. And this is real interesting. So this is the best example of what's going on. We have Washington Street, which is State Road 32 that runs this way. And we have Franklin Street, which runs parallel with Washington Street, and they both run right into Greenville Avenue here. They Greenville Avenue is right here, and you can see it on the map right here. This is very easy to see. If you zoom in here, you can see right here, Franklin Street comes this way, and you can see this long, like, driveway-looking thing. And 32 comes, and you see this long driveway-looking thing. But you can see that it does not connect. On Google Maps, it shows it does not connect. Matter of fact, not only does it show it doesn't connect, they draw the property lines on here. You can see the property lines have been drawn. So the property lines for this. So here's the road. Okay. Here's the easement. No, Joey, not an alley, because an alley. So to be considered like a true alley, number one, let's go find an alley, in Winchester that would be similar to this. Right here. This is an alley. Here's an alley. Okay. You see this right here? Here's an alley. Here's State Road 32. Here's Franklin. And here is an alley. And you see these buildings that are built into the alley? You see these buildings that they're built, and it's harder than hell to get through. You really can't get through those areas. I'm going to show you. And here you see another one of these things. Here's like what could look like, but it's not all the way through. Let me go through here and show you. Think of another alley I can find. I think, where would another alley be, Kate?
South Main. There's the museum.
Oh yeah,
an alley behind the museum, between South Main and West. You know where I'm talking about?
Yeah. Where's West at? West is right down here. One of these is West, right? No, it's this way, right? Where's West Street?
No, I can't even see.
It's not Main, it's Meridian.
Meridian.
That's what was throwing me off. I was like, there's no way.
Then...
Okay, so Meridian is here.
Sorry.
And West Street is here. I was like, what the hell? So it wouldn't be West Street. It would be, what is this? Here's Meridian. Here's West. There's another. Okay, let me go down here. So my house was right. This was my house.
There's the Historical Society. There it is.
There it is, right here.
Okay. So
where's the alley?
There should be an alley. So you come up behind. So here, this thing here is not really a road.
Oh, this is not a road.
That's not a road.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is. This is an alley. Yeah, you're right. Yep, you're 100% right.
It's not a road. It's an alley. It looks like it should be a road, but it's not. It's an alley.
You're right. This is the alley. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the alley that runs behind my old house. That's exactly correct. So 318 here was my old house. I lived on Meridian Street. if you would come off Will Street, Will and West, this is one block. This thoroughfare right here, and as you can see, this little garage was built into the alley, and we always had to scoot over for it. Here's my old out garage, and the alley was here. Our trash cans were here. Here's where the alley is, and so you can see the alleys. And these alleys are paved by the city. They are upkept by the city. They're plowed at times. And so that is an alleyway. We come back here to Franklin Street, Franklin and 32. And our story is going to focus on these two houses. These two houses and these two houses, obviously. So I'm going to break down here to the street view and let you see kind of what we're dealing with. This will be helpful. This property right here is the old Thayer. I hate that name because it always makes me sound like I'm saying there with a lisp. Thayer. That's the old Thayer funeral home. Beautiful old home. I always loved that home. Being a funeral home and all, I always said, man, I would live there. Even though it's a funeral home, I would live there. So several years back, Thayer Funeral Home shut down. They left. There was a whole bunch of weirdness going on there. And a non-mortician, non-funeral people moved in and turned it into a private residence. And as you can see here, here's their road. And here, this is like how they would, this was the driveway, the parking lot to Thayer Funeral Home. Well, now that it's no longer a funeral home, this is the driveway parking lot of this home. Okay. Well, you can come here and you can see where this private drive turns off of Franklin. And there's, you can see here where there is a home and a driveway and a garage. And here's a garage. And you can see a fence. You can see something blocking the roadway there. And if you come on the other side of this, you can see here's Washington Street, 32, and they have a roadway that runs down this way. And they're blocking there. You can see this. This is blocked. Well, since the 1800s, and you don't have to take my word for this, we'll show you here in a moment. Since the 1800s, that has been a private drive. It has not been an alley for the last many years, since the 1800s. That said, the entire time that Thayer Funeral Home, and plenty of time before that, I would assume, ran this funeral home, that would be great, Stumblefoot. I've already got a name for that show and everything. It just popped into my head. This blockade right here was not there. And the entire time that Thayer was here, this private drive was treated like an alleyway by people that would use the funeral home. It was treated like an alleyway by people that lived here, by people that lived here, by people that lived here, and by people that lived here, and then by people who just drove these streets. They often used that private drive as an alleyway. Well, last year, some construction started happening right around here on Greenville Avenue. And it became a pain in the ass to get what?
So it was right at the end of Franklin and turning down Ludi.
Yeah,
they
right
were
there.
Redoing the turn there at Ludi to get rid of the wall.
Yeah.
And they redid the corner down here at Franklin.
And
put in a wall. And they redid the sidewalks and paved.
Yeah.
So it was that section was closed.
It was like a Z. This Z, basically from where you see where the change of paving, where the dark paving starts, this down here, then we cut down here down to, and you can see a little bit of dark pavement on Franklin. This is where this section was closed. So if you were, say, for example, if you were in this household or this household and you wanted to jump this road and get on Greenville Avenue and go to Walmart,
which
you had to do one of two things. You either needed to take 32 out all the way out to 27, which when I say all the way out is like 2 minutes, a mile. It'll go all the way out here and hit it, or you would have to
come down to Oak.
Yeah, absolutely. And
come down like 2 or 3 streets and then hop onto Greenville.
Hop onto Greenville Pike or go backwards. So it became a pain in the ass. And what people were doing was they started using this alleyway, and the homeowners in this area said that people were speeding in the alleyway. They were trying to pass each other. And I want to be clear that this quote unquote parking space is only 16 feet. So it's not as thick as a regular road. Okay. And
it's a nice fat driveway as well.
It's a nice fat driveway. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not enough for 2 cars. I mean, 2 cars can be side to side if one of them's broke off their mirror. You know what I mean? It's very tight fit. And so to think that you've got people that were trying to pass each other in this freaking alley, you'd have people going north and people going south and all kinds of crap like that going on. That would piss me off too. So the people that had recently bought the old Thayer funeral home said they didn't know at the time that it was a public drive. They thought it was an alley. They thought that was a city street alley. So what did they do? They went to their local government. They went to Mayor Bob McCoy, and they said, we need help. We need to shut this down. Bob said, I'll get right on it. So Bob, good evening, Brenda. Bob does what he does when he gets right on things, which is, I don't know what that means. Bob talked to the street department. Bob talked to the police department. Bob talked to himself in the mirror in the morning. And between all those great minds, they came up with the idea that they couldn't do a damn thing about it. There was nothing they could do, which a lot of us would be like, that's bull crap. Why aren't they doing something? But this is great information. They couldn't do anything to it because it's a private drive. It's a private drive. Now, I'm going to take us off of the map. I'm going to go back. Good. Hello, Robert. Good to see you too, brother. I'm going to take us back to the terrain for a minute. It is a private drive. And do you see... It's hard. Do you see this? I'm going to try to blow this up as much as I can. That's as big as I can get it. Do you see this line right here? This line, it kind of goes between the sheds. And then do you see... So this patch here belongs to this house. This patch here belongs to this house. This barely little corner here belongs to this house. And this at the end of this nub, this right here belongs to the Thayer Funeral Home. So you see this, and you see this line right here that divides this property line. It actually divides the driveway or the alley too. And essentially what happens is this 16.5 alley gets divided up, and essentially half of the driveway, 8 some feet of the driveway, belongs to the people at 327. 8 some feet belongs to 307. And then on this side, 8 some feet belongs to 328 here. and on this side, 8 some feet belongs to 318. So that's what goes on there. Okay. And so they said, we can't help you. You're going to have to do something. Now, at the time, Bob and the police chief told the people that were upset about this were mostly the people the private citizens that bought Thayer and the private citizens who lived here. They were upset with what was going on here. They were told, put up some cones and we'll put up some blocking tape to stop people. Well, guess what happens when you do that? People drive over the cones and they drive through the caution tape, and it's a joke. It's a laugh. Okay. So as a turn of good fortune for the people who live here at the Thayer Old Funeral Home, this man owns a construction company. And they got to talking, and this man said, I'll build a blockade there. And they talked to the police, and they talked to the mayor, and they talked to the city. It's all their property. So as long as they kept this blockade on their property, they could build it. You can see there's fences here. There's fences here that keeps this property from this property and this property from this property. It's all fenced out. So why wouldn't you just put up a little fence here? And it solved the problem. No issue. No issue. That was until July of last year, when the gentleman in this home right here was upset that he could no longer come out of his driveway, go down this alleyway, and get to Greenville Pike easily to get to Walmart or whatever he needed to do. And the man that lives there is a man about town. He's somebody that all of the beautiful people know. He's a former teacher at the high school. Big community bigwig. And yeah, right, Eric, a couple of years ago, I asked the city if a hole could be fixed, and I was told no, that it was in a private driveway. Yeah, right. I mean, they can't work on, they can't touch private stuff. So this gentleman got upset that they couldn't deal with this. We're going to look at this from the street view. Here's Thayer Funeral Home. Here's the alleyway. We're going to go up in here. Okay, you see where the alleyway has blocked this? Okay. And it says no trespassing, and you can't get up around there. Okay. We're going to go look at it from the other side too. Give me a second. So here's the property that wants to be able to use the driveway. And if we look down this short driveway, we can see the back side of that fence. Okay. And we can see this. Here's this gentleman out here, matter of fact. He's out there and is working in his yard. Looking. He's probably looking down there and cussing those people. Damn you! Okay. So that's what we've got going on. All right. We're going to get back to the other side here now. So here we are. This is what we're looking at. So back in July of 2024, they had a city council meeting, And during the city council meeting, this topic got brought up. Right. How's it faster? It's not any faster. I mean, it's totally ludicrous. Okay, this is seriously just a case of like I want to do something because it's easier for me, and it's because I say so, and that's it. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's seriously all there is to it. I don't know. It's really ludicrous, honestly. So back in July, at a city council meeting, it got brought up that there were some people that were upset, mainly that one homeowner, because he couldn't get through this driveway, and he wanted that wall to come down. Mr. Private Citizen, tear down that wall, as Kate said. And so let me get here to right meeting. 18th, July 15th of 2024. Yeah, the private citizens that own Thayer was there, and let's see where the decision was. Let's see where. Street. Well, these minutes are I'm telling you, it's going to be so much better when the city of Winchester starts live streaming their meetings. And I found out today that starting at their next meeting in July, which will be the third Monday, because the first Monday is going to be canceled, their meetings will be live streamed to YouTube. So that's good. So essentially what happened was, I'll read you this newspaper article from back then. So the newspaper article from just 2 days after the July 15th meeting says alley concerns raised. Issues surrounding that's not it. Oh yeah, this is it. Issues surrounding street construction in Winchester resulted in residents addressing Winchester City Council during Monday's meeting. Landowners near and they call it an alley. Landowners near the alley between Franklin and Washington Streets expressed concerns about the status of an alley. With Greenville Avenue closed for construction near Ludi Roads, vehicles began traveling through the alley to get around the construction in some cases. It was reported that drivers were speeding. They attempted to pass each other in the alley. Though referred as an alley, the area is designed as a private driveway. Now, that's the city of Winchester stating that. It's designed as a private driveway. It has been blocked off, which has eliminated the traffic issue. The property owners that attended Monday night's meeting said they had heard that residents were petitioning to reopen the alley. Mayor Bob McCoy and City Attorney Meeks Cockrell said the city had not received such a petition, and it was noted that as a private driveway, the owners are within their rights to have it blocked. The property owners also brought up their concern over the cost of paving or making repairs to the alley. They were asked if they would want the alley to become responsibility of the city. Those in attendance were not in favor, preferring to wait until construction is completed and then possibly revisit the matter. They also brought up the issue of vehicles speeding on Franklin and South Streets, noting that as someone turns off screen, that doesn't really matter. So the bottom line is, when this got brought up in July of 2024, the city government of Winchester stated, this is a private drive, and you, as the private owners, are able to do what you want with your private property, and it's not a city matter. That was July of 2024. Then in November of 2024, just a couple of short months later, some things changed, and we're gonna take a look at that now. Okay, at the Monday, November 18th, 2024 meeting, this issue got brought up again. And at that meeting, you had the private owners of the Thayer Funeral Home who wants it to remain a private drive. You also had the gentleman there that wanted it to make it an alley again, quote unquote again, that wanted to be able to drive his car through their private property. That's like you telling me you want to drive your car through my grass. Tough shit. Get out of here with that. Okay, so looking at the meeting minutes, all right, we're going to go down here and see. At the November 18th meeting. Now, this is what's unfortunate, because what happened at this November 18th meeting was I don't know if Missy was here or not. But during the public concerns section, apparently this got brought up. And unfortunately, there is no discussion in the minutes. And unfortunately, there's no recording of this meeting. And that's laughable, right? Ridiculous. Shame on Winchester. That being said, there was a newspaper article that covered what happened. And that newspaper article says the following, and I will share that with you. Give me just 1 second. So the minutes, the city didn't keep their minutes properly, which is complete bullshit, and it should be seen as a problem. But the newspaper wrote an article covering this event, and here is the newspaper article. Okay, it says private driveway alley discussion moves forward. The causeway between Washington Street and Franklin Street has been closed to traffic since shortly after the recent construction on Granville Avenue to replace sidewalks and repave the street began. Cars had been using it to cut through and get around the construction at the busy intersection of Greenville Avenue and Washington Street, and the owners of the adjoining properties were concerned about safety. It was discovered back in July that there is very little, if any, legal documentation referring to the causeway as an alley existed. So nothing called this an alley, period. And that it was more or less a private driveway. Now, the guy that's writing this is a complete dickwad. He's an idiot. It's not that he's making it seem like, well, there's a little bit of question. No. Talking to the people involved, talking to some of the elected officials involved, talking to the private citizens, everyone has said at the July meeting, there was no words minced. This is a private driveway, and there's nothing the city can do. You can do what you want with it. I think Kate said at this point, I think I'd jackhammer a good 10 to 12 feet of the far end of my driveway. Absolutely. You know, there's nothing that they can do. You can do whatever you want with this. So I hate that now in November, the state-ran media, the local the government-ran media in Winchester is now like, well, maybe. Look, there's no legal documents, period, okay? Let's see here. Now that the construction on Greenville Avenue has been completed, the property owners were in attendance at Monday's meeting of the Winchester City Council to discuss the future of they keep calling it an alley, even though it's not an alley. City Attorney Meeks Cockrell began the discussion, stating that the property records dating back to the 1800s had been looked at, and there was only one reference to an adjoining alley on the record. A survey of the area was done in 2004, and that survey proved that this was a private property. Cockrell said, I propose that we hire that same firm and do a survey to determine the location of an alley. This would cost between $1,500 and $2,000. We would share the findings with the adjoining property owners and meet to discuss how we want to move forward after seeing those results. The council and most of the property owners were receptive to this proposal. One property owner was opposed on the grounds that he felt that it was not a good use of city resources. At first, this property owner stated that they would not allow the surveyors onto their property, noting that his money could be put to better use. And I agree, because it's already been decided. But after hearing the cost to date, this property owner's opposition to the survey seemed to ease a bit. And that's all that was said, okay? That's all that was said during that November meeting, where we have no record of what was actually being said or not. Okay? That then brings us, that's November 2024. That then brings us to April. All right? And I want to look here to the April 7th, 2025 meeting. And during that April meeting of the, let me see here. Okay, during the April 7th meeting, we're going to look down the minutes and see if there's anything here. Okay, now it's actually made it on to the minutes. So this must have been a big discussion. So I'll show you this. Here are the minutes from City of Winchester on Monday, April 7th. I just saw that you put that in there. Thank you. This is the April 7th, 2025 meeting. And you can see that Mayor Bob McCoy's there. Clerk Treasurer Carrie Sayers there. All 5 of the Winchester City Councilors who are there. And I want to remind everybody, District 1 is John R. Boyd, who's basically a mutant from another planet. Terry Alfrey, that's the guy we call Bear. His name is Bear Alfrey. Jim Nunez is there. Nan Harris is there. And John Bruchin is there. That's your Winchester City Council. Additional officials present, the chief of police, a bunch of other people, and citizens present. Okay, all of the homeowners that were concerned about this were present, including Bill Bush, the bad guy in this. Now we'll get down here and we'll take a look at what the minutes say about this. Washington Franklin Street alley discussion. After a plat of the area was conducted, it is determined that the area in question is an alley only in this area separating Mr. and Mrs. Bush property from Mrs. Oswald's property. So what's funny about this is it's only an alley for like this part right here. Show you here. This part is the alley part. Right here. And when they say alley, I don't know what they mean. I don't know. Can anyone not hear me? I think it's you breaking up, Robert, not me. I think I'm good. Go out and come back in again. So the only people that the only way this was ever considered an alley is from Washington Street here, and you could pull in, turn around, and pull back out. But this part was a private drive. So it's like half of an alley from Washington to, yeah, absolutely, yeah. That from Franklin up to the here where the property line is, it's private drive, okay? Now going back to the minutes. The area in question between Mr. and Mrs. Briggs' property and Mr. and Mrs. Cook's property is private property owned by the landowners, Mr. and Mrs. Briggs and Mr. and Mrs. Cook. After a very lengthy discussion, hearing all sides involved, it has been determined that the area in question is not city property, and therefore it is not a matter for the city to address. Listen. It is not a matter for the city to address. And that's hilarious, Admiral Eric. That is hilarious. The council members all spoke up as their own understandings on the matter also. Councilor Alfrey made a motion to pursue opening the thoroughfare. What? They were just told that this was private property, but one of the idiot counselors makes a motion to open it anyways to through traffic. Bear Alfrey, I'm going to tell you, Bear, I'm going to come move into your driveway, and there's not a damn thing you can do to stop me. I'm going to come live in your living room. How about that? I own your living room now. How about that? Are you okay with that, Bear? You okay if I just come set up in your living room? If I come take over your bathroom? I own all of the bathrooms in your house now, Bear, dumbass. So stupid. Okay? Alfrey made a motion to open the thoroughfare. Councilor Boyd seconded that motion. I think I'm going to come take your bedroom, Boyd. I'm going to own the bathrooms in Bear's house, and I'm going to own John Boyd's bedroom. The motion was voted down 3-2. Thank God. Councilor Nan Harris, Councilor Jim Nunez, and Councilor John Bruchin voted not in favor of opening this up, because for once, those three had the understanding that this is a private driveway. We can't open this up. We can't just come take possession of it. That's stupid. During the vote, obviously, Bear Alfrey and John Boyd, both apparently now from another planet, voted to try to take private property. And this was in April of this year. So it was over. The motion died, private property, nothing to be done, right? Right? Well, not exactly. Because when people that are the beautiful people are told no in Winchester, they don't very much like that. That's not something that they are used to happening. They don't like when things don't go their way. And when you tell someone no, who is not really anybody, but he or she is friends with the beautiful people, well, they get the beautiful people in action, and they say, hey, something needs to be done about this because I was treated badly. I wanted something, and I was turned down, and I was never told by my parents, apparently. I never learned in life that sometimes you don't get your way, that, you don't always get what you want, shit like that, They apparently never learned that sometimes shit happens. Well, no, not underhanded and behind closed doors. They're trying to do it right out in the open. So we were told in April, they voted, we heard it, we just read the minutes. This was a done deal. We just read it right here. This is from the minutes from Monday, April 7th, 2025. Okay, it's the 23rd of June. May. That was 2 months ago. 2 months ago, we were told it was a done deal. It was a done deal. It has been determined that the area in question is not city property, and therefore it is not a matter for the city to address. Okay? 2 dumbasses on the council wanted to address it anyways, and they were voted down. Matter over. Or is it? That brings us to the June 2nd meeting of the that brings us to the June 2nd meeting of the City Council. I'm going to share this with you here. Here's the June 2nd meeting. Monday, June 2nd, 2025. This was just 21 days ago. And it was 2 months, less than 2 months after the council already decided no. And I want to look at who's in attendance here. Okay, Bob McCoy's here. All of the council members are here. And look, it says the citizens in attendance. All right. Look at this. We've got Missy Williams, Errol Clem. I can't believe that dude's still alive. I thought at least he would be 300 years old by now. Errol Clem is the godfather of the city of Winchester. What Errol says goes. And now I don't know what his involvement in this is, but I don't believe in coincidences, and I so far haven't heard that Errol's involved with this, but I know that Errol and Missy are like this, and I just find it, I find it to be very peculiar that he's here, because he normally doesn't attend these meetings. Now, you might want to know, or you might ask who Missy Williams is. Missy Williams is a former Winchester city councilor. She was the at-large councilor, and she resigned her seat on the council because she just couldn't take the stress that Kristopher Bilbrey was putting on her. Okay? She's the one who told everybody that I hired an airplane to spy on her. Matter of fact, the person that she said, matter of fact, she told Nan Harris that. Nan Harris is the one that told me that I took pictures of Missy's house and her bedroom and all this stuff from an airplane in the sky. And I was like, what? Crazy shit, man. Well, she resigned from the council because she just couldn't handle it. Just couldn't handle it. However, when Bob McCoy left the county council to become the mayor of Winchester, and he resigned his council seat, they needed to put someone in his seat. And who did they pick? They picked Missy Williams. Missy then went on to fill out the rest of his term. She then ran for her own term. She served that term. And then last year, when did she run for? Last year, she ran for commissioner, and she's now Commissioner Missy Williams. And I'm telling you, there is not a more, I'm just going to say it, there is not a more hateful, cold-hearted, deranged bitch in the world other than Missy Williams. I don't say that lightly. I don't say that about women. But boy, if the shoe fits, the shoe fits. I don't know how else to say it. Missy Williams is a deranged nutball. I don't know. I mean, she's out of her mind. She feels like she is the end-all be-all. Where she walks is gold, and she looks down on everyone out there beside her friends that her gaze comes upon. She is a horrible, horrible, horrible person. And I normally don't talk about people like that. I normally just talk about them publicly, politically. But she has far gone past that. I've known stories, heard stories of being verbally abusive to students when she was a teacher, and just absolutely treating people like trash. One of her fellow city councilors, Lisa Friend, used to talk about Missy like a dog. She said that Missy was so hateful and talked about people like they were trash, just routinely put people down. Matter of fact, she's the one that called now deceased firefighter Rick Sanders basically trash in a public meeting when he wanted some help from them. And just absolutely crazy. Just absolutely crazy. So, I don't know. Very, very crazy. All you have to do is get the R next to your name on a ballot and let straight party voting take you away. So she's present at this June 2nd meeting. I wonder why. All right. We're going to get down here into the abandoned vehicle. There's nothing there. We're going to see. Let's see if there's anything on the, let's see if there's anything going on here. Street Department. Citizens' concerns. Okay. Oh, I see what Errol Clem was doing there. Missy and Errol wanted a commemorative plaque put up on the side of the bathhouse at Goodrich Pool for Marilyn Williams. Okay, whatever. All right. At the end of this, during the citizens' concerns, Randolph County Republican Commissioner Missy Williams brought up the alley closure at Washington and Franklin Street. She has been getting complaints that citizens don't like their neighbors, so they want to close the alley between their house so their neighbor cannot use it. She stated that is causing the value of the house on one side of the alley's property to depreciate, and it will make it hard for them to sell. What do you mean? The alley's already closed, you dingbat. Okay? But it'll make it hard for her friend is Bill Bush, to sell their property. There was a survey completed, and Attorney Meeks said he will email the survey to Missy, showing that half in question is not an alley. This is a neighbor issue which needs to be taken care of between neighbors. And for once, I will give the boy blunder, Meeks Cockrell, an attaboy, because he's exactly right. Now, I don't think he cares one bit about protecting property rights. I just think he's caring about not getting involved, and he doesn't want to do the work. This was an easy way out for him. So it's not like he's standing up for property rights as a lawyer. He's just saying, I don't want to do any extra work. So he's going to email her the information. This is a neighbor issue which needs to be taken care of between the neighbors. Counselor Alfrey comes to Missy's defense, though. He disagrees with the outcome of this, and Counselor Alfrey would like to have it looked at over by an attorney. Meeks Cockrell's an attorney, you dumbass. So that's funny that he puts no stock in what Meeks has to say. That's hilarious. He also puts no stock in what the surveyors had to say, apparently. He would like to have it looked over by an attorney. Counselor Alfrey made a motion in citizens' concerns. So it wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't on the agenda. He made a motion during citizens' concerns to contact an attorney for consultation and invite all parties involved to the next council meeting to discuss. Counselor Boyd, again, comes to his rescue and seconded it. Counselor Harris and Counselor Nunez went with the negative, and Counselor Bruchin abstained. Now, here is the turning of Counselor Bruchin, because he hangs on every word that Missy has to say. So Bruchin, who was originally a no, now abstains. The vote died 2-2. Missy Williams wants to know why, for years, this was treated as an alley and now it's not. Because different people live there, you dingbat, and they didn't care. Like, Missy, I want to bust your door in the middle of the night and put this is all facetious. I don't mean this. You're safe. But I want to put, this is my taking over the Winchester. So I'm now going to own the bathroom at Bear's house and the bedroom at Boyd's house. And I'm going to turn your house into a music studio where I blare music 24 hours a day. Are you okay with that? Or is that your private home? Missy doesn't understand why this was treated as an alley for years and now it's not. Counselor Bruchin then makes the motion to contact an attorney to include whatever is needed, including litigation, and invite all parties involved to be invited to the next council meeting. I'm confused. Why did he just vote no? That's what he just abstained from. But once again, he's making a motion that wasn't on the agenda. Alfrey seconded it, and Counselor Harris and Counselor Nunez went with the negative, but the motion carried 3-2 in an illegal vote, an open door violation, in my opinion. This was not an emergency. They did not vote to change the rules, to suspend the rules. This was an illegal vote. This was complete bullshit. And Yeah, that's exactly right. They made their opinion of their own city attorney very clear. This is insane. Absolutely insane. So this was the June 2nd meeting. Okay. So now let's look at the June 16th meeting is not done yet. The June 16th meeting is not done. Stand by 1 second here. So, all right, now I'm going to show you. Here's the plat of Winchester. Here this shows you. Let's see here, South Street. Let's see, where are we at here? Look, I'm going to have to look and see what we're looking at here. Community petition to support the Cooks and Bridges family. These are people in support of keeping it private. Okay. We, the undersigned residents and property owners in the vicinity of 327 and 307 East Franklin Street, strongly support the Cooks and Briggs family in their position of opposing the efforts of the City of Winchester to open, condemn, or acquire a privately owned driveway located along the west edge of these properties. We respectfully urge the City Council to honor its April 7th, 2025 vote and to take no further action regarding this matter. We agree and affirm the following. There is no public alley currently in use or legally platted between the Cooks and Briggs' properties and any neighboring parcels. The properties at 327, 307 East Franklin Street have properly fenced and closed to public access since July 7th, 2024. We do not support any claim of necessity to access this private area and reject any efforts forcibly convert it to public use. We support the rights of the Cooks and Briggs family to maintain privacy, control of their land, and safe access to their residence through their private driveway. Any attempt to reopen or condemn this area will cause unnecessary conflict, reduce property values, and erode trust between residents and local government. We request the City of Winchester cease all efforts to take this or open this privately held land, respect the Council's earlier public vote against further action, commit to transparency and collaboration with the community on future matters involving property rights. And then they have a bunch of signed people who have signed this. We now have a letter, an email from Matt Cook to Bob on June 3rd. At the direction of legal counsel, I'm writing to formally and unequivocally object to any continued effort by the City of Winchester to pursue the opening or acquisition of the strip of land located along the west of my side property at 327 East Franklin. This area, which serves as my private driveway, has no valid easement, no platted alley designation, and is privately owned. At the April 8th, which was the 7th, I think, council meeting, the council voted not to move forward with this effort, and I believe that the decision was correct, fair, and final. Reversing that decision on June 2nd, 2025, without notice to the affected property owners, without listing the matter on the agenda, violates both public transparency expectations and potentially the Indiana open door law. I have already submitted a complaint with the Indiana Public Access Counselor regarding this vote. Legal and factual grounds for objection. No easement exists and no alley was ever platted between my property and the neighboring parcel. This area served as commercial business, a funeral home, until I purchased it in 2016. The property was zoned commercial until 2017 and functioned with an open public access under that use. The driveway has been completely closed off since July 7th, 2024 without interruption. No neighboring owner has a right to continued use, and any past use was permissive, never adversive. The city's own records and correspondence confirm no legal dedication on platting of the alley exists in strip of land. The request to take my land for a shortcut has been verbally acknowledged, does not rise to the constitutional standard of public necessity, a public necessity requiring for taking. The value of my property at a 4,800 square foot home and garage is on a 125 foot by 175 foot would be severely diminished if the city were to take this private driveway and convert it into public use. My sole private entrance would be eliminated, and traffic flow in a highly trafficked central area would present safety and livability issues. Public representation matters. At a time when public trust in local government is critical, decisions affecting property rights must be made transparently, with full public notice and legal foundation. The fact that this issue was not reintroduced and voted on without public notice to property owners or inclusion on the agenda only increases the appearance of unfairness. I respectfully urge the city to immediately cease pursuit of any legal action to take open the disputed area, honor the council's April 8th decision and abandon this action, refrain from using taxpayer dollars to pursue unnecessary legal action that will only deepen community division. Please include this letter in the official record and confirm receipt. And I agree with him 100%. So, from Matt Cook, Sunday, to Meeks Cockrell, and this was on November 17th. This was his arguments back at the very first, when they first were arguing it. So we already know what they don't want to happen. Here is the information that shows, let me see. Here is the information that Winchester paid for, okay? And they paid for this, and the cost of this was $8,000. So the city of Winchester has already paid $8,000 on this mess. So they just keep voting on it over and over until Mr. Bush is happy with it. Yeah, this is nuts. Only 2 months later, this is disgusting. This is, absolutely crazy. Well, so I'm going to tell you what goes on here. So it shows you there it shows you clear as day the property line.
Before Alva takes off here.
Yeah.
Can we just give a shout out to Carrie Sayre?
Yeah. So, you mean what I told you earlier?
Yes.
So, last night when I told you guys about this, I started writing the record request. And I was like, okay, I'll finish it tomorrow morning and I'll get it sent out to Carrie before she even gets there. I want everybody to hear this. I was up 4:00 in the morning and I was working on this record request. And I thought that I had sent it, but I was kind of tired and I didn't know. So at about 3:30, because I asked them to put speed on it, to please get this back to me quickly, because I knew I was going to start tonight. And about 3:30 rather, I look and I notice I don't have anything from Carrie. And I'm like, okay, crap. So I go about it. I get home and I'm on the computer up here and I just accidentally, it was pure accidental. I hovered over my Gmail and I noticed I had something in drafts. And I was like, because I clear my mail out like that pretty quickly. I was like, I don't know what that is in drafts. And at 3:40, 10 minutes after I looked, I noticed that I had not sent the record request. I noticed that the record request was setting in drafts. And so I was like, oh, shit. And I quickly looked at it and I needed to fix one thing on it. And I hit send at 3:47. Well, they close at 4:00. She had this to me. I was like, well, I won't get this. I won't have these records by the time we go on the show tonight. And who knows how long it'll take me. She had these records to me 11 minutes after I sent them to her. She sent them to me by 3:58 p.m. And she told me, it's a good thing you caught me, because when I leave here today, I won't be back until the 7th of July. I'm going, she was going to take time off. So had I not noticed that, number one, I would have screwed myself until after July 7th. And number two, I am giving a major shout out to Carrie, because she did this. Yeah, right. It is a record. 11 minutes. And what she gave me was all that information I just showed you there. Now, they are working on the minutes for 2016. But we can do this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if you can hear this. Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Have a legal claim against them? Absolutely, I think they do. And I've told them that. Do I have one? I used to drive up and down that to go from
that ground has been somewhat plotted down where, if you get down to what used to be the old.
Looking now at the prices, I'm sure there also will be some.
You can hear or can't.
I kind of like your thought. I mean, I really do. I mean, I know how instrumental she was in.
Well,
making
her
it
family has been, they donated the land to the YMCA.
Apartment and all that, and the surveyor looked and looked and looked, he helped me out. If you're asking also for it maybe to be named the Marilyn Williams Goodrich Pool or something like it. 2 times that I know the city maintained that alley, and I think they continue to. In 1988, I had a baby, so that summer, no air conditioning, it's hot. We sit on the front porch a lot. We watched the city pave that alley. Another time, Al thinks it's about 1995, they actually put speed bumps in there. And there are 2 families that have homes north of what used to be their funeral home. And they are now, I can show you photos if you want to. Those 2 families have found it almost impossible to get in and out with, have any kind of visitors. Where do their visitors park, and how do they get to come to a family dinner or anything else? I did extensive, I went to George Castor, who's the assessor, and he helped me look things up. That ground has never been surveyed. It has been plotted, but from where I call it the old Ward house, we lived there.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Ward and his second wife lived there, and so I know a little bit about the history, because I'm a history buff anyway. That ground has been somewhat plotted down
This is the voice of Missy Williams, by the way.
where, if you get down to what used to be the old Matchett house, then it was a yellow house, but that has not been surveyed. George couldn't find any surveys, so I went over to the community corrector, or to the building where we have the health department and all that, and the surveyor looked and looked and looked, he helped me out. That has not been surveyed, but it does have 2 dashed lines showing that alley can be used as a 2-way traffic. So there's been a huge barricade put up. My understanding is, and I have not, Linda and Bill Bush and the they do not know I'm here tonight, but it is a problem. I've received 3 phone calls from other people in the community saying, my neighbor came over to me and said that I own 9 feet of your yard. So through your peony and your vegetable garden, that's mine. Well, a lot of those, they need to survey. They need to have to pay to have it surveyed to show where the property line actually is. With the exception of the city, there's nowhere that George Castor, that Ed Thornburg, anybody in area planning could find that that's ever been surveyed. It's just always been an alley. The Old Fair Funeral Home, which of course before that was the Baker Funeral Home, and then before that was the McCamish family who owned the funeral slipper factory where Wicks Pies is now. It's always been an alley. Those two properties, I talked to 2 realtors, and I asked, what could they do? He said they'll never be able. I mean, you're not going to get much for these properties because you have no way in. You can get in, but you've got to go forward, back up, go forward, back up. Can't get in your garage. The Oswalds have to come over on the Bush's property to get their vehicle out to go onto Washington Street.
I lived in Winchester, and I didn't have a driveway. I parked in the street like everybody else in Winchester does. It's a problem of Winchester. That's a Winchester thing. Yeah, that's the thing. They can't get in their driveways now, but they could if it's an alley. The arguments that Missy's making here, and in my opinion, she's making these as Commissioner Missy Williams, and I think this is really gross. The other aspect of this is, and I haven't even shown you this yet, I don't believe, is this. I want to be sure to show you this. Prior to Missy doing this, Missy decided to take it upon herself to go visit her friends and do some snooping. And Missy is caught on camera going and taking pictures, and this is Missy right here. She's really invested in this. Why? I mean, I know these people are her friends, but I'm just floored that this is going on 2 months after a vote, after they were told by their attorney that this is a done deal. This is this is over. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to this. And yet she's there poking around doing what Missy does best. It's absolutely gross.
So I guess I'm gonna. I could go through it. They really wedged those 2 homes to be in. I'm not saying they're worthless by any means, but if there are no spring chickens living in both those houses. Bill Linder, a little bit younger than what Mrs. Oswald is, and she's cared for by her daughters. But if they wanted to sell those, their ability to sell them, at least and I got out of town because I didn't want to involve anybody in town, any controversy of them having to do anything. They think it'll be extremely difficult for them to sell those homes. You just have no egress to get out of there. And I don't think, the one realtor said, let him leave the private driveway. Let him leave that up there, but allow the Bushes to be able to go in and out like they have before, and also with the Oswalds. If they have company, at least they could park on Franklin Street and just.
But how do you stop everyone else if you remove the barrier? You mean to tell me that we're going to be able to, with our mind powers, to stop everyone else, that we'll just let the Bushes, but no one else come down this alley? That's not going to work.
Just walk down the alley to carry in dishes or Christmas or whatever else. So he made the statement, well, what happened to park on Greenville? There is no parking on Greenville Avenue.
And I know that that's something I specifically asked was, hey, can the family go through? And that's when they brought up, well, insurance liability.
They don't have liability on that because it's.
Well, but I'm
actually-
just saying that's
Yeah,
what
but
they had
what
said.
They did actually have, did we pay for the survey? Did the city paid to have a survey.
Oh, yeah.
We paid to have a
We
survey.
have a survey.
See, Missy's here talking completely out of her ass. She doesn't know that they've paid. She's like, this has never been surveyed. Yeah, it has. It was surveyed and proven that it was public property. Here's a good suggestion. They can open up the alley and have it be a public alley down to the barricade and on their side all they want. They just can't screw with Franklin size.
Where is a survey and it is not an alley?
And Matchett's, former Matchett's house has a survey also.
Yes.
In my office.
Yeah, they did move the barricade forward 5 or 6 feet. I know we talked about that, 5 feet to help bushes get in and out. Our stand, it's a neighbor issue.
Which means they even gave up about 5 feet of their property. They gave the bushes and the others 5 feet of their property. I would have said to hell with you. I'm not doing that. But they did it being neighborly. So they gave, you got your 5 feet. Suck on that.
They need to work it out between themselves. Yeah.
Ding, ding,
I
ding.
mean, they talked about, they were here, they talked about a
Oh, I
gate.
know. I
and,
talked to
yeah,
them.
it
They called
was a
me
lot.
for
But
that.
yeah, there was a survey. So before we made any decision not to do anything, we had a survey.
Because it's not recorded anywhere. I mean, I couldn't find it.
It may not be a recorded survey, but
There's a statute that says you're required to. record
yeah, the
those.
surveyor should have recorded it.
Yeah, do you know who the surveyor was?
I have it. I'll go check.
Yeah, we have it.
I know the Matchett's was, you probably just, I know the Matchett's were, because we had it at the office.
Who did Mo do ours? The city?
It wasn't, I thought it was, it was Match. I thought it was Beals.
I
I
don't
thought it was.
Was it Bealsmore?
It was Beals.
Billsmore? Yeah.
I think you're gonna see a few more people put up a barricade. Not gonna put up a barricade, but I think they're gonna say, that alley's mine. One gentleman,
Most of the alleys are, that's the only one that we've come across that's not platted. There are platted alleys.
Yeah, right. What Missy's saying now is stupid. If somebody tries to block off a public thoroughfare, call the police down there and get rid of it. You're not going to see more of this. This is not happening all over town. Missy is talking out of her ass like she normally does.
And that's the only platted alley.
It is platted on one side, it's platted
Which
on
is so
Washington,
strange,
but it's
yeah.
not platted on the
Right.
Frankfurt
and
side.
the Bushes own that alley. So they could.
Well,
they could-
actually, no,
No.
that's a city alley. Between the Bush and Roseville is a city alley.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just the
It actually, in the legal description of the Bushes and Roseville says up to the alley. And
I
on
haven't
the,
seen that.
and on the plat map, it shows alley, but then it stops right there at the property line.
Yeah.
And so when you go on the old, when I say it's the old one, Missy, it's the one that's like 250 years old.
That's
It's
what
like,
I've got is
Yeah,
the
it shows
old
it straight through on the
Oh,
old
yeah.
map.
well, some of them show old, and then some of them stop. It's just
Right.
Like
Yeah, the one I got.
the
It's an
original
old one.
plat.
It shows that it is an alley, but it shows no place that has ever been vacated.
Right. Right, but if you go by this, because we did have it surveyed,
The surveyor could not find the platted alley.
There's not
No.
platted out.
To say that this has bothered me since this came up is an understatement.
Why would this bother John
If
Bruchin?
we had a second survey by a different surveyor, what are the possibilities that they could come up with a different interpretation? I mean, I don't know. I'm just
I would say none, but
throwing it out there.
I think that would be very hard. They'd be very hard pressed to come up with a different answer.
I felt like, my opinion's never changed on this. I feel like that if we can't come up with anything and we all have different opinions on it, that we take it down and we leave it up to a judge. I
No.
mean, I know we're taking the responsibility of, having to
But
pay
it's
for it.
it's easy enough to just go and I mean, I would think, like I said before, that if you voted to condemn it and make it an alley and pay them for the 8 feet on either side, just like what we would do on Greenville Avenue, just like what we did on Western Avenue, just like what we did, a couple other places. I think that the two landowners would have a very tough time, fighting that. Basically, what you do is you figure out what the value of that is.
Right.
You give the court, you pay the court that value. So if they say it's $1,000, they deposit that 1,000 at the clerk, and you open it up, and then it goes to litigation. And I think they'd have a very tough time winning that. And I think I said that before, and I think it's an adverse possession. But for me to sit there and say it's a platted city street, we couldn't find it. I mean, we could not. I can't say that because
this is absolutely gross. This is, this is gross. And for everyone saying like, what are we talking about? This is just a driveway. We are talking about your private property. Nothing burns my ass more than this, man. This is like right up there with constitutional rights. They are wanting to steal someone's land, and we'll just do it here. How about you do this? How about you leave the damn thing up? And if you want to fight it, go to court and fight it. And if they rule in your favor, then you tear it down. I'm telling you what, I will make this a statement, and I'm going to make this to Matt Cook and to Briggs. If this comes that if they're going to come on your land illegally and tear this down, I will chain myself to this. I will make that statement out. If Briggs and or Cook wants to fight this and they are saying, well, we're going to come tear it down and you got to take us to court. If either one of them will allow me on their property, I will chain myself to it. And I will make that statement right now. And we can turn this into a big old show and see what goes on with this. And they can arrest me if they so choose, but I will chain my ass to it until they cut me loose and haul me to jail. We'll turn this into a big ordeal. This is absolutely insane. I'll talk to them both about that too, Kate.
Now, do the Bushes and the Oswalds have a legal claim against them? Absolutely, I think they do. And I've told them that. Do I have one? I used to drive up and down that to go from the field house to the high school. That was a shortcut to my house. Well, I've never used it for 40 years. I bet you about anybody in town that's ever used it could have a potential claim.
So we just need a motion to pursue this?
If you do, like I said before, I represented 3 of the 4 people, I think, or 2 of the 4. We would hire somebody. I'd bring somebody in, and you'd hire somebody to give you a better, different, probably the same legal opinion, but a better way to do it. And we have a list of people I can send to you.
But that's the question: is it the city's responsibility to do that, or do the homeowners do it?
I think why everybody's talking is it's probably the landowners.
I thought that's what we had decided. It was the land.
You're gonna have it happen more in town now. You've got a guy who's gonna put a concrete post in an alley because he doesn't like his neighbors having their kids ride bikes in that alley. And he says that he's gone up and looked, and I think it's correct that he says he owns over there, even though that's always been an alley. He could actually stop that guy could stop the people from getting in their garage.
Well, I think that's just another case where if it is a platted alley, then he needs to go through the process of vacating that alley before he puts anything in the middle of it. Yeah, if that is a platted alley. I think that's the difference. We're not talking about a platted alley.
I like Mix's idea because I just think.
Who's some idea?
I guess you just made the paper. Scott's not right.
I think I sent that email out. There's an email. I can send it to
Yeah,
you.
you did.
There's a big long email laying out the options. And more than happy to provide that to you. I'll actually even write that down to tell you, Stan.
Yes.
Yeah, just
And,
absolutely.
you know, it goes down to like people when I've had many people call me, say, hey, I want to build a fence. Can I build it on the property line? Yeah, you can build a fence on the property line, but you better make sure that's the property line. And then what usually comes next? You need a survey. So, but I'm like, you know, Mike and Brandon are saying, you know, you go saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a judge in on this and everything else. And then you go taking people's property. I don't know. I mean, it could get ugly. It's going to get ugly either way. I mean, that's the problem, because there's not going to be a winner.
And that's what bothers me.
But they could pursue it. I just keep going back to they can pursue it. If they want to, they can pursue it.
And we listened to our lawyer from the beginning when he did the research and everything else.
And I'm going to give it to Nan and to Jim for saying strong on this, and to hell with Bruchin and the other two idiots. This is absolutely crazy. It's just, this is nuts. So then they end up voting illegally in that, and we're getting ready to wrap it up. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. You're absolutely right, Lisa. I want you to listen to this just a little bit before we go, because this is the meeting that we haven't read the minutes from. This is from just last Monday. And this is what happened last Monday.
So at this point, you're still
I'm still,
for it.
I did not vote because I was missing.
I want you to listen.
$875,366.78.
Any questions on the payables? Or potential cost to take this to an attorney and see if the, I guess, weigh our options, would you guys call it that?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair to say. Meeks did bring up that, you know, being the parties aren't really here, should we be doing this? But it happened anyway. So after the fact, the next day I get an email, get a call, Missy Williams brings up, so I don't think we should do this, and I'm going to contact all the council members. So during that time period, I had 2 weeks to go ahead and consult with an attorney. I sat on that. Now, whether I should have or not, I really felt you guys need to rethink this before I would do that. So that's why we're here tonight. So at this point, I guess the question is, do you guys want to rescind your motion from last month? Right, I guess it was earlier this month. Or what are your thoughts? And then from there, we'll let anybody wants to speak.
Well, I voted against it initially,
So did I.
and so did Jim, so.
That was Nan and Jim saying they voted against it.
Fair.
I voted for it.
So you think we should,
I,
so he's asking.
oh yeah,
So at this point, you're still.
I'm still
Bear's still all for it. Let's take people's property. I mean, Bear, what kind of a disgusting asshole are you? And you're trying to convince people that you're a Republican? You're a conservative, bro? Are you for real?
For it.
I did not vote because of what Missy had said, so.
I guess where it comes to, I guess if somebody wants to make a motion to.
No, that was a miss thing. That was a mistype. She's all for it. She's all for it. That was a mistype thing. No, it was on the agenda. It was on the agenda this time. This is the July 16th or June 16th meeting.
Last month, and then we'll see where it goes. And if it dies, then basically what you guys voted on stands.
I'll make that motion to rescind it.
Okay, it's been moved to rescind the vote from last council meeting
Okay, so Nan Harris makes a motion to rescind it.
regarding the alley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Then seconded.
Jim seconded it.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion fails 3-0. So
And Jim and Nan voted to rescind it, and the other 3 didn't vote. They want to keep it.
the 3-2. So the statement stands, so I will contact somebody the next couple of days. So anybody from the audience want to speak?
I would.
Please tell us who that we got. That way we have it on record.
Yes, Jim Martin, live at 400 East Franklin Street, and I so appreciate and respect all your opinions and discussion about this, but it was like three meetings ago, it was voted on and killed then. Unfortunately, what I did here was not facts or topics of discussion of the neighborhood, but feelings, and that's where I'm really kind of concerned about why it was brought up again, just because of Missy coming in here, and I wholeheartedly respect her and appreciate her, but you've already heard the concerns of the neighborhood, and right now it is deemed private property, and so I don't know why Missy was saying that that sets a precedence, because it really does. I mean, eminent domain is the possibility that we're looking at for the city to take over an alley and open it back up to make it more dangerous, which was a fact brought to us by the police department. And I unfortunately know it is an inconvenience for a lot of people, but when it was open, it was very dangerous for a lot of people, the neighborhood included. And so that's what I just wanted to, I saw what I heard, and I
Appreciate that. Anybody else?
Cannon Briggs, part owner.
Here's Cannon Briggs. He's part of the owner. He's part of the people that they would be taking away from. Let's listen to what Cannon has to say.
Here's my problem. What's the difference? Now that you guys have even paid to prove that it was ours, okay? What's the difference of me going to your driveway, parking a box trailer there and saying, I need that? You're trying to take our driveway. That's the only option they have to get in their driveway. That is a turnaround driveway for my property. I don't understand why we're going after someone's property. And if that being said, why can't we go after your guys' driveways or anybody's driveway for that matter? It's been plotted, personal driveway for years. It was public access and that was great. The problem is Thayer's is not a funeral home anymore. It is not a commercial business anymore. There's no need to have that access. And that's why it was not deemed an alley back years ago. The city supposedly paved it back in 80 something. That's the only thing they've done. Since I moved into our house, I plowed that driveway. This year, after the fence was up, I still plowed the alley, public alley that the city owns, against my own wishes, because I can get sued from the city for doing that. But in respect for everybody else, now I've got kids backing into my fence on camera, costing me money for damaging that fence.
The young grandkids that are between 20 and my age, related to the Bushes, are doing damage to that fence they put up. He has them on camera getting into their truck and bashing and ramming that fence. That's what he just said there. He has them on camera doing that.
Now, I know it's not a great fence. It will be changed, but it's damaged property. We have a police report on it. It was Maverick Anderson that backed into it once. And I said, okay, he's just a kid. He's learning, whatever. When he goes to leave, he gets in his truck, puts it in reverse, and pushes the fence. We have him on Maverick. McCormick Anderson. On camera, license plate, face. He even got out of the truck and looked at it. Pictures, made a police report. I have a bill at my house for McCormick. I haven't sent it. I don't want to be that mean. I don't want to put him through that. I don't want him to have stuff on his record. The problem I got, that is our property. Nothing else said. We've got a petition going for Franklin Street, we've got what, 20 signatures? That want it closed. It's a safety issue. My kids can't play. Their driveway gets abused. My yard gets abused. I don't know what else you guys want to do, but as much as I hate to say it, we're looking at a lawsuit. I don't want to do that. But I don't want anybody to take my property either.
Thank you, Kenny. Matt, did you have any dad?
I got something.
Okay.
Here's the other.
My name is Matt Cook. I live at 327 East Franklin Street. If you guys proceed with this action tonight, you're not just overturning a settled vote, you're placing the city of Winchester on the wrong side of transparency, fairness, and the law. At the June 2nd, 2025 meeting, your own words made the nature of this effort clear. Several of you justified moving forward by saying things like, "They're good people, I like the Bushes. I've known them a long time. They just need to get through there like they always have. It's about their property value and their guests being able to park." These are not statements of public necessity. These are admissions of personal bias and favoritism, and they are not lawful basis for the city to initiate legal action or spend public funds. Statutory violations from the last council meeting. IC 36-1-4-17. Public funds must serve a public purpose. You have discussed using edit or rainy day funds to pursue legal action, but by your own words, the purpose is to benefit the Bush's property value and convenience, not the public. IC 5-14-1.
I love this guy.
Open door law, public notice requirement. This issue was not listed on the June 2nd agenda, and no notice was given to affected property owners. Yet a vote was taken to move forward with legal action, a clear procedural violation. The public must be informed of the subject matter of a meeting. IC 35-44.1-1-4.
Right, K-Mama.
This statute prohibits public officials from knowingly exceeding their lawful authority or using their position to confer undue benefit to others. When you say, "Let's help them," and vote to take private land for the sake of guests and parking, you cross that line, especially when that help is directed by a county commissioner with a personal relationship to the Bushes, who was seen on their property before this issue was brought to the public. This is not a public business, it's private favoritism. There is no platted alley, no easement, and no claim of necessity. The area has been legally blocked since July 7th, 2024, and was never dedicated for public use. The council's previous vote on April 7th got this right, and tonight's reversal has no legal basis. If you vote to proceed like you already have, you will be on record using city funds to help specific individuals, ignoring public process and violating multiple provisions of Indiana state law. I will challenge this. I will continue to pursue every legal remedy in public, in courts, and with state oversight to protect my rights and stop this abuse.
Ken Briggs again. The question about property value, what's that gonna do to our property value if we have to give part of it up? Two, I tried selling a part of my property, and I can't do that without refinancing my entire house. No option. So if this was to go to the public, are you guys willing to pay me or pay my fees to refinance my house? Are you willing to pay the higher interest rate that I'm not gonna, or that I'm gonna get because I can't get the interest rate I have now? There's a lot of questions here. It's gonna cost us money to lose that property. It's not fair. There's an easement on the other side, the city, that's fine. AEP, I have no problem going through my part to get to the power line because that directly affects me. I'm building a barn. I'm gonna build a barn regardless if it gets turned down tomorrow or not, because the only thing about tomorrow is attaching it to my house. There's nothing that can be done without legally spending, or wasting money and taking our property from us.
It's gross.
Yeah, Bill Bush.
Oh, Now here's the guy that wants it. Here's the guy that wants it.
Obviously, this has been a big mess. And, obviously it started when they closed Greenville Pipe down. And it was a mess, though. It really was. But after that, I felt like it could go back to the way it has been for 100 years. And people have access to that. No, it's not just my personal having to turn around and mess around in my driveway and the inconvenience of that. Many people have come up to me and said, gosh, why did they close that off? I used that was something that my kids could go through. I've seen.
For a long time, they put cocaine in Coca-Cola, and then they stopped. And for a long time, heroin was legal, and then it became illegal. Sometimes we do things, and then we learn that, whoops, that wasn't the right way. At one time, it was okay for Americans to own other Americans or other human beings. At one time, people owned other people. And we learn that sometimes we're doing things the wrong way and we need to change. That's all that's happened here. I'm sorry that Mr. Bush is 300 years old or whatever the deal is, and he likes the way that it used to be. And, that's what it's all about. But unfortunately, we're in today. We were, we loved illegally trespassing, and we want to continue.
Teams run through there, from school, and it's a safer way than going down to Greenville and so on. I just felt like it was public, had a right to use it, and it seemed like that was very convenient for them, and it was a safety thing in many cases. They bring up some very valid points, but it was dealt with before, and it really just became a problem in that time that was so busy there. You do what you feel is right, best for the city. I'm not asking you to do things just so I can turn around my driveway there. What's best as far as the city is concerned? That's all I'm asking for. People came to me, a lot of people came to me saying, I'm just not right. It's just not right. Personal property.
Cannon, let him talk, please.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you, Cannon. Okay. I told Missy that, and she continued to pursue it, and then finally she found out, it was personal property. I think that's why she backed away. Okay? I didn't ask her to come here. I didn't know she was coming here. Yeah, she's a good friend. Yeah, she was on my property. I never pursued her at all. I didn't talk to anyone. I haven't talked to any of you about it. I've given it up to you. What do you think is best for the city? That's all I'm saying. And so do what you want to do. I apologize if I backed into that with my grandson. That's how a lot of people feel about that wall being up, unfortunately. And
I don't like that someone locks their doors when I want to get in, so I should just be able to bust into it. I should just be able to throw a brick through a window because I want to get in. This dude is out of control, man. I'm sorry about my grandson bashing into your private property, but that's how a lot of people feel.
If that had gone up with due process, I think as we saw it, I think that would make a difference too. And I've been able to explain to people why it went up, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying that do what you feel like is right.
Thank you, Bill.
One more time. Missy Williams texted me yesterday on Father's Day, asking if she could have 10 minutes alone with me. I said, sure, I'll be in the barn, stop by. Not, hey, how you doing? Happy Father's Day. You immediately jumped into, why can't you four get along? Why do we have to act like kids? Why can't we just open it up for the Bushes to be able to pull in their driveway? County commissioner called me on Father's Day and showed up at my house for an issue that doesn't involve her at all.
Kathy Cook, 327 East Franklin. Bear, the last time that we were talking about this, you asked me what had changed. Didn't dawn on me until I got home and started thinking about it. My grandson, my daughter had a baby May 10th of last year. In July, when we shut that off, it was because my daughter was taking the car seat, carrying it out, and people were swerving. That's my grandchild. That's my baby. For them to swerve up into our drive, not just what they thought was the alley, up into to where it almost hit them. That got me thinking about closing it off, because I was against the wall. You can ask all of them.
I think we all.
I was against it. But when that happened, that's my family.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's carrying out a baby. And these people, because they're impatient of going on down, swerving into our property. That's what changed. My grandson.
Anyone else? Council, you got anything to add? So back to what you just voted for. I think, correct me, I'm just going to ask the attorney what all is involved and what could be the potential cost. That's 2 questions, and I have no idea at that point what them 2 questions are going to cost, but that's what I'm going to bring back to you. Is that what you want? I mean, 3 of you, what you voted for. There, John, other John, is that what you want? Okay. I just wanted clarity on it. Thank you. Anything else from anybody else?
So after this, we're going to wrap up right now. I apologize for taking so long. After this, it was determined that to go forward with this it will cost the town just to go forward in the initial steps is going to cost about $30,000 to $40,000. So that's what Winchester's doing with its money. Totally out of control, absolutely asinine bullshit legal fights for information that they already know is bullshit because it's private property. Absolutely, Stumblefoot. And just right here before we wrap up, the last meeting on the 16th made it into the Winchester News Gazette. Again, this is something that they are looking at, and it was a big article this time. Friday, June 20th. It made it into the newspaper, and let me take this banner down here. Okay, this is what, oops, that was messed up. So this is what this looks like here. And it is alley dispute. They've got a picture of it. Now, they've taken a picture of it from the Bush's side. They didn't take a picture of it from the private property side. Okay, whatever. So here's the big above the fold headline. And the picture says comments from concerned citizens, and the newspaper's shitty for that. They need to say comments from elected Commissioner Missy Williams. It wasn't from a concerned citizen. It was Missy Williams got this start going. Regarding the alley private drive between Franklin and Washington Streets have led the Winchester City Council to vote 3-2 to consult an attorney to explore options as to resolving a differing of opinions between property owners that began after it was closed off during construction on Greenville Pike and portions from the barricade to Washington Street after considered an alley. And the portion of the barricade, the portion from the barricade to Washington Street is an alley, and the property owners on that side now have limited parking options, while the owners of the private drive on the other side of the barricade are concerned for the safety of neighborhood children and the damage to their property. Council looks at options for resolution. Again, I want to say, the council had voted to shut this down, that this was private property. So it wasn't concerned citizens that got them re-talking about this. It was comments from Commissioner Missy Williams. And the fact that she may have backed away from this or not backed away from this or whatever, now that she finds out that she was talking about it, now she finds out it's a losing cause and she's backing away from it. What a chicken shit. Man, at least Bear Alfrey, I don't like what he's doing, but at least he has the conviction to stand behind what he's saying. She's like, well, I got this ball rolling, but now I don't want anything of it. And to hell with her for showing up to the people that have the private property and saying, why can't you just get along? Missy, I'm going to come take your car. And I just want you to understand that and be okay with it. You hear how stupid that is? You hear how stupid that is? So the article goes on to say, Winchester City Council will consider a dispute regarding an alley. It's not an alley, you dumbass. Stop writing that, Scott. Winchester City Council voted 3-2 during its meeting on Monday to consult an attorney and to explore options. No, they didn't vote to, they actually voted that illegally during the June 2nd. They voted to not rescind it on the 16th. See, this is why you can't even trust the newspaper there. They write what they want. They're sitting in these meetings and it's like they're in their own different world. It's always been that way. It's crazy. I figured it would be different after Lisa, but I guess not. They voted to consult an attorney to explore options between property owners regarding alley and private drive that was closed off during construction on Greenville Pike. The portion from the barricade to Washington Street is considered an alley. Property owners now have limited parking options. Several property owners and another neighborhood resident. Hold on, can you take that down? Another neighborhood resident commented on the issue at the meeting. Property owners on the Franklin Street side of the barrier expressed concerns about the safety of children and damage to their the property that were issues when the path was open to traffic. They said that when the alley was open, drivers would often veer into the yard or pass each other, causing damage to their property and nearly hitting children. They also said they would also find their trash and drug paraphernalia on the property. And I want to say this is great that they're all putting out reasons, but the bottom line is it's their private property. That's the end all be all. We don't need to give you reasons. I don't want people driving on my private property. That's the end. Another resident who lives nearby on Franklin said that the neighborhood is much safer since the quote unquote alley has been closed to traffic. Listen to facts, not feelings. Yep, said the neighbor. Yes, these are nice people, but the facts remain that the neighborhood is much safer with it closed. In a separate but related issue, one on Franklin Street property, owners noted that people often speed down Franklin Street and ask the council to look into possibly installing a sign that shows driver the speed on his property or increase patrols in the area. That landowner also noted that he has witnessed the grandson of one of the Washington Street property owners hit the barricade while parking. You made the correct decision in April, said another Franklin Street property owner. Should you take any action to reverse that decision, I will take legal action. The Washington Street property owner said that he was under the impression that once construction on the Greenville Pike had been completed, the alley would return to its previous state. We now have nowhere for guests to park should we want to have a family gathering, he said. So much for the newspaper. This will negatively affect the property values of the properties on the Washington Street side should either of us ever want to sell them. This alley had been open to traffic for well over 100 years. While it is an inconvenience for us, I understand and want the council to do what is best for the city. Well, that would be not stealing private property. The council members who voted against consulting the attorney are of the opinion that this is not a city issue, but an issue that should be resolved between the property owners, and that the alley should remain closed unless one of the property owners wishes to pursue legal action on their own. The other council member want to hear what the other council members want to hear what options might be available and what cost might be associated with them should the city decide to take further action. The council also approved an ordinance to make Best Avenue, which runs between North and Pearl Streets, into a one-way street recently. The sidewalks in the neighborhood have been repaired, and North Street. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else here. Okay, that's I think the end of it. Let's see here. Wait a minute here. Yeah, that's the rest of it. So that's the end of that. So bottom line, I have to give it to I got to give it to Meeks Cockrell for being a lazy bastard. I'll give it to Bob for at least acting like he is more concerned about the property owners than his friend Missy Williams. So I'll give it an attaboy to Bob. And I'll give a major shout out to Nan Harris and a major shout out to Jim Nunez for doing the right thing. A major to hell with a lot of you to the other three idiots, Bear, John, and John. The John twins are idiots, and Alfred on this is just completely stupid. I will, thank God, be at the next Winchester City Council meeting. The meeting on the first Monday is canceled, and that will be that'll be the Muncie City Council meeting. So the next meeting of the Winchester City Council, keep that up. The next council meeting for Winchester will actually take place on let's see, 1, 2, 3. I guess on the 21st of July. So I will be there. On the 21st of July. So I'll be there, and we'll ask them if they want to get famous again. If they want me to start coming to their meetings and they want me to chain myself to this wall, let's get froggy, because I'm down. So we'll do what they got to do. Lisa says Mr. Bush would park on Franklin Street and walk up that driveway to the back of his house. It made it easy for him. Why can't their visitors park on the streets like others down through Washington do? Yeah, right. That's all I'm saying. That's a Winchester thing. I lived in Winchester for years, and we parked it sucked, but we parked in the streets. It is what it is. That's just, we're not all lucky like Kate. We don't all have a wraparound driveway. You know what I mean? Some of us just had to park on the street. It sucked. I also parked in back of my house in the grass, but I hated doing that. So it is what it is.
To be fair, part of my wraparound driveway is technically an alley.
Yeah, right.
But it leads back to the creek, so it doesn't go anywhere.
It's not a through and through.
It's not a through and through.
Yeah.
But I own half of the alley, and my neighbor owns half of the alley. So my wraparound driveway is part driveway, part alley. So I'm really interested in this, because now I'm concerned that the city could come and take away my access to my shed.
Right. They're gonna come take your part of your private property. I mean,
and my neighbor's access to their garage in the back.
Well, and to put Missy on to put the shoe on the other foot, Missy's like, well, other people are saying they're just going to start taking their neighbor's peonies garden and they're going to block people getting into the garage. Well, first of all, if you have somebody blocking a city right of way and they're doing that, tear that shit down and find those people, take them to jail, whatever. I can't just go put a blockade in a roadway. So if someone's making some stupid claims, you deal with that. But I want to put the other shoe on the other foot. What about this? So from now on, I'm just going to, what happens to all the people who now hear this and say, well, wait a minute, I want part of your yard and I want Winchester to fight this. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to demand that they fight to get where will this stop? If they steal this property, what else will this lead to in Winchester and Randolph County?
Oh, that's a good idea, Kate Mom. I've heard of her.
I'll be honest. I know. Look up the Wicked Witch of the East. Her case might help find this. Who's that?
So, she's a TikToker.
Yeah.
And she's been fighting a city that's been trying to take away part of her land. Her land abuts a creek, and there's a.
How do you know this?
I got sucked into it somehow. I was researching something and got sucked in. It abuts a creek, and part of it was used as a beach for a long time, but it's on private property. So she's been fighting the city over this so-called public beach, which is on her private land.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely look into that tonight. That's crazy. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good to know.
Is
that her name on? Is that her name on
on
TikTok?
Yeah, it's at the city parks on the other side of the creek or something.
Okay.
Yeah, she won. She fought it.
okay.
I don't know how many years she fought it, but she outlines her whole legal battle with the city.
Oh, okay. So it's
on
all
her
out.
TikTok.
It's all.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all laid out there.
And I know it's in Colorado, but some of it's gotta, help with this stuff over here.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, I will
Listen,
definitely.
I don't understand him saying he wants the alleyway to be open so his visitors can park in it. If it's an alley, it's not a parking lot. It's a thoroughfare.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to park in it if it's an alley. That's stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand that. So his visitors won't have anywhere to park if they don't open it up to be an alley. So where are his visitors parking now? Before they put the wall up, were they parking on the neighbor's private land and private driveway?
That's why. Yeah, that's a very good question.
I don't understand that line of reasoning at all.
Well, it is the quote unquote beautiful people, idiots. So yeah, it's very it's disjointed and doesn't make any sense. It's completely ignorant. I, of course, will be looking into this. The only record request that I did not get, I asked for any communication emails between Missy and Bob, Missy and Meeks Cockrell, and Missy and the council people. And John Bruchin responded back and said that he had no communications between he and Missy from, I went from October before all of this, or I guess June of last year until today. And that he said that he had nothing, but the others hadn't responded.
On Franklin and walking up the alley to their home. But if they did put the car in the garage, it made it easier for them to just go through the driveway and pull right into the garage. Now they have to make a few extra moves to get into the garage. So they weren't parking in the alley. They were parking on Franklin and trespassing on private property to get on the other side of the block.
Yes.
Why don't they just park on Washington? That's what everybody else does.
No, their cars are way too nice to chance it to getting dinged, or the wandering bandits that like to go through your cars looking for change. That's the first thing I was told when I moved to Winchester. Do not leave anything of value in your car, and do not lock your doors. And we learned several times, because if you lock your doors, they'll damage it trying to get in. So we just always left them unlocked, and I always left some change out there. I thought, if they want to go through it and get the change, have at it. But,
I live across from the jail, so I don't have too much problem with that because there's cameras.
Right. Yeah, it's so
but I
crazy.
am interested. I am seriously interested, because if they can take that alley, what stops them from taking mine?
Yes.
And I'm shit at backing out, Kristopher. I do not need to be trying to back out of a half of a horseshoe.
Right.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm a woman driver, okay?
Yeah. Castle Lord says it. Beautiful people drive beautiful cars. So that's they don't. Yeah, that's the reason they're not parking out on the string. So
it's stupid.
We will obviously keep following this. There's a lot more here. I'm going to talk to the homeowners and all of that stuff. I've been talking to some of them already, but I've got more people to talk to. We will follow this. I'm going to go to the next council meeting, hear what they've come up with. I'm going to shame them mercifully, whatever. It's too late. And you'll all be able to watch it streaming live on YouTube because they were hooking up the equipment today, Carrie said, and they will be ready to lights, camera, action come the meeting in July. So you guys will all be able to watch it. We'll have some fun. And, I'm just going to have to ask them if they feel lucky, punk. And we'll find out if they want to hit the political spotlight circuit and be on here for days and weeks. We can do that. I'm ready to chain myself to the fence for the cause and see where we go from there. Yeah, she said it for me. That's all, folks. All right, take care. God bless. Have a good evening, and we will see you. You can just come here. We'll. You don't have to find their channel. We'll help you out with that. I'll help you out with that. All right, you guys. Have a good evening. God bless. It's been a long one, but this was again a very important topic. So we will see you tomorrow. Hit the like button, do all that shit, and we will see you later. Bye.